Welcome in to the NFC West Huddle. I'm Bailey O'Carroll in San Francisco. We are joined by a very talented panel all across the NFC West. We've got Alyssa Charleston-Smith in Seattle. We've got Robbie Baker and Phoenix, and Gerard Moncure in Los Angeles. You guys, we've got to start with the biggest headline to come out of this week, and that is the future of former, now Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. Kyler out of the starting job, really a job, in Phoenix with the Cardinals. Robbie, we've got to start with you. What was your reaction to that, and who do you see replacing Kyler for that franchise?
Well, Bailey, this was kind of the worst-kept secret in the NFL, if you will, right? I mean, you could even go back to last season where Kyler had the injury, and then he was kind of practicing leading up to Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. They ultimately start Jacoby, and then obviously we now know, as history would tell us, Kyler never started a game again for the Arizona Cardinals. When they actually released the renderings a year ago for their new practice facility, Kyler even joked in his press conference, well, I hope I'm still here when they open it in a few years, and that was the first time people were like, well, that's a weird thing to say. Then a few weeks ago, they have the official groundbreaking ceremony for the new practice facility in North Phoenix. Kyler Murray not on hand for that. And then now this week we find out the news that the team planning to release him next Wednesday at the start of the new league year. I think this is just one of those things. It's a relationship that didn't work out. There was some really high highs, 2 Pro Bowls. They made a playoff appearance where they lost to Gerard's Los Angeles Rams, and the season the Rams ended up making it to the Super Bowl and winning it. The Kyler Murray experiment just did not pan out. He'll get an opportunity somewhere else. Someone's going to get him cheap. The Cardinals are still paying him like $50+ million next year to not be their quarterback. In terms of what the Cardinals do moving forward, the Malik Willis name keeps getting brought up because obviously the LaFleur connection and Monty Ossenfort's connection to his time in Tennessee. Do the Cardinals want to commit another $20 million a year potentially to a quarterback with some more question marks? I don't know. If you look at teams that are quarterback needy right now, it seems like a lot of teams are looking to next year's 2027 crop of college quarterbacks. That's probably where the Cardinals find their QB1 of the future. Cardinal fans don't want to hear this, but this is another reset. It's another kind of restart of the clock, if you will, of another rebuild here. And hopefully they get it right at the quarterback position, but I don't think the future franchise Hall of Fame quarterback is coming in the next few weeks or months.
Yeah, and Alyssa, the Seahawks obviously coming off of a Super Bowl, but they play the Cardinals every year, multiple times a year. Who do you think will be back there under center the next time Seattle plays the Cardinals?
Man, anybody's guess, right? I know there are rumors that Malik Willis of the Green Bay Packers is an interesting name. If you're Cardinals fans, you don't really want to hear that. I mean, he's a backup, and he was a Tennessee Titan, obviously drafted in 2022. But, I mean, the name Kirk Cousins comes up because what is Atlanta going to do with the Falcons and an injured Michael Penix? How does he come off that injury? But you know what? You can't have Sam. And I know that Robbie really would probably love to have Sam Darnold at this point. You can have Geno. Geno Smith is on the market, you guys, more than likely, because the Raiders are going to take Fernando Mendoza, no doubt. That would be the most beautiful irony if we ever get Richard Sines back on the show. When I'm on the show, Geno Smith would have to be the guy for the Cardinals. But there's just not a great crop of guys that are available right now unless you go and make some massive trade. And I don't think the Cardinals have the pieces to give up. They don't have a wealth of weapons when it comes to making it tempting to other teams to take their quarterback. And honestly, Kyler Murray it's a surprise, but it's kind of like it's about time. It's been 7 years. The fact that he mentioned the 77-year drought without a league title, kind of like a little bit of a jab, I feel like, is on his way out, because it's kind of proving, hey, I'm not the only one who hasn't been able to do it in Arizona. Many quarterbacks, basically since, 1946, 1947, haven't been able to do it in Arizona. That screams ownership, potentially dysfunction in terms of an organization. And honestly, I believe it could be Kirk Cousins, or it could be maybe a Malik Willis, just because those are the rumors that are out there. Either one don't scare me a whole lot up here in Seattle, I'll be honest with you, Bailey.
Gerard, what was your reaction when you heard this news?
Well, first of all, I'm not surprised. I was a skeptic of Kyler Murray because he's undersized. He's listed at 5'10", 207. If he's listed at 5'10", Robbie probably knows he's probably stood toe-to-toe with him. He's probably 5'9". He might even be 5'8 3/4. So he's undersized. That's the first problem. And, that just doesn't go away. That means you can't throw directly from the pocket most of the time. You've got to either move to your right or your left to find a lane. And, he was just never really consistent. As Robbie said, the one playoff appearance against the Rams back in 2021, that was a disaster. They got smoked 34-11 at SoFi in the wild card game. That was a great Rams team. They went on to win the Super Bowl. But, he was just never the prototype NFL-type quarterback because he's undersized. Now, with that said, I have a different take on who's going to be the quarterback for the Cardinals, at least this coming season, the 2026 year. Because Mike LaFleur is now the head coach, I think he's going to bring Jimmy G back in for at least a year. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be the guy. And as a Rams guy, I hate to see that because you have to have a backup, a quality backup quarterback. And Jimmy G is more than just a quality backup quarterback. I think he's 34 now, but he has been a starter with New England, the 49ers, Vegas. Of course, he led the 49ers to a Super Bowl game they probably should have won. So he's got a ton of experience. If you protect him, he is a great system quarterback. He can get you to the big game. And that's what I see the Cardinals doing to kind of put a Band-Aid on the situation until they can draft who they'd like to draft or make that great trade and not settle for giving up, a bunch of assets for Malik Willis or Kirk Cousins. I think it's going to be Jimmy G. But overall, I'm not surprised that this has not worked out in the long run.
Well, on that note, does the Kyle Shanahan quarterback tree continue through the NFC West? We've got Sam Darnold, the former Niner, who Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, Sam credits him with kind of breathing new life into his career. And obviously he goes to Seattle, wins a Super Bowl there. Could Jimmy G, I don't want to say win a Super Bowl in Arizona because I think they need a lot more pieces, but could he continue that trend? We will see. I wasn't shocked, as with everybody, about this Kyler Murray news. You could sort of see the writing on the wall. Things weren't working out. That being said, Kyler Murray did always give the San Francisco 49ers trouble. They called him a squirrel in their locker room just because he was undersized, and he would just sort of pop up everywhere. And Nick Bosa always talked about the fact that he just had a really hard time going up against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals for whatever reason. They just couldn't figure out a way to stop him. He was undersized, so he moved around a lot on that field and gave defenses trouble. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Kyler Murray is out as the Arizona Cardinals quarterback. I hadn't thought about the Jimmy G placement in Arizona, but I could see it. It would be a good Band-Aid situation. The other thing I sort of thought about was Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a name that has come up time and time again when you think about teams that are looking for a starting quarterback, their next starting quarterback. I think he has proven that he is a starter in this league, but the question mark remains, does Arizona have enough to give up to get Mac Jones? And I think the answer to that is no. So now we pivot to another quarterback situation, this time in Los Angeles. Matthew Stafford entering the final year of his deal with the Rams. Rams head coach Sean McVay has said they've had great talks with Stafford about re-signing him, about extending his deal. If you guys are the GM in LA, how long of an extension do you give Stafford? Gerard, we'll start with you.
At 38, I'm going to sign Matthew Stafford to a 2-year extension, okay? Because obviously he's coming off, arguably, statistically at least, the best season of his career. We know he won a Super Bowl a couple years ago, so you probably have to call that his best season. He led a game-winning drive that was memorable, goes down in Super Bowl lore. But statistically, I mean, obviously he was unbelievable. 46 touchdowns to just 8 picks, a 109 QB rating this year, 12-5 record. And it was not the Rams offense being the reason they didn't beat Seattle in the NFC Championship game. It was really the defense. So I'm going to sign Matthew Stafford, even at age 38, to a 2-year extension. So that gives him 3 more years. As long as you protect him, you're in great shape. It's proven. This year, he did not miss a game. If you protect him, he is okay, despite the bad back, starting the year. And look at some of the other quarterbacks that have had phenomenal careers into their 40s. Tom Brady was still very productive at age 45. Warren Moon was 44. Aaron Rodgers, we're seeing him play some pretty good football right now at age 41. Joe Flacco's 40. So if I'm the Rams after the season he came off of, I'm giving him 2 more years, and we just got to keep him upright, and we're good.
There you go. I know, Robbie, sore spot right now talking about quarterbacks, but, you know, if Matthew Stafford was on the Cardinals, they might say, we'll give you a 12-year extension. We don't care how old you are. How long would you sign Stafford for?
Yeah, what does it feel like, Rod, to have a franchise quarterback that you want to give an extension to? You want them to be there. You know, that's got to be a good feeling. No, I'll keep it short and simple. I think Gerard nailed it on the head there. 2 years is probably the sweet spot, because that's 3 years total, as he said, gets them into the early 40s. And while quarterbacks can maintain a high level of play, at some point, father time catches up to everybody. But that feels like a good kind of marriage between him and Sean McVay for another 3 years potentially. And I mean, you know, the Cardinals, everybody's kind of the bugaboo for the Cardinals in the division at this point. So it would be nice if Matthew Stafford went elsewhere, but then they would just get some other all-pro quarterback in and wreak havoc when they come to State Farm Stadium.
Alyssa, what do you think?
I'm in agreement with both of those guys. I don't see doing a 3-year extension so that he's there for 4 years, unless that 4th year is incredibly team-friendly because of the age. And I know Tom Brady has completely changed the game in terms of what can be done when you're 44, 45. He won a Super Bowl in his 40s. Matthew Stafford is the reigning NFL MVP. He did everything you wanted him to do this year, passed for over 4,000 yards, lit up the Seahawks offense multiple times this season. He's your prototypical pocket passer, which Kyler Murray is not. And that is a big reason why he's going elsewhere, because he refuses to stay in the pocket and he can't pass over some of those huge defensive linemen and his own offensive linemen. A guy like Matthew Stafford is everything you dream of. So I don't think you'd want to part ways anything sooner than 3 years. I totally agree with those guys. I think it's going to be a 2-year extension, so he's there for 3 more years, causing more hectic for chaos for the Seahawks defense and everybody else in the NFC West. But I think his relationship with Sean McVay is paramount. He understands this offense better than basically anyone that Sean McVay has had at quarterback. He's brought him to a Super Bowl. He gets this offense and the complexities of it. You want that kind of leadership. He seems like he's also a humble guy, and you don't always get that with your superstars. So sign him to a 2-year extension. I think that's going to be the most probable outcome.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with everybody. I think 2 years, you maybe start the Green Bay Packers route. You draft a guy, give him time to develop, let him learn from Stafford, who has years and years and years of valuable experience to share in the NFL. The other thing, too, I think that we didn't mention is you got to look at in 2 years, Stafford's going to be 40. He may not want to play football anymore, even if he can, and even if he's able. He's got 4 young daughters, so he's been vocal about wanting to spend time with them. I was at the NFL Honors this year after Matthew Stafford accepted his MVP award. During that press conference, he said he wouldn't have come back if his daughters didn't want him to continue playing football. So that is an aspect of this conversation that I think you have to look at is, you know, these guys all have lives off the field. A lot of them have young kids. As a quarterback in the NFL, you are spending a lot of time on the road and in the facility and training and getting ready for a season. And when you are 38, you have to train even harder to get ready for a season. So I think the question remains is how long does Matthew Stafford want to be a starting quarterback in this league as well? That will do it for this part of the show. We will be right back with so much more to discuss across the NFL and the NFC West. Just stick with us. Welcome back to the NFC West Huddle. We're going to take a trip outside of the NFC West. We're going to talk about Fernando Mendoza. He quickly became America's sweetheart his undefeated season at Indiana, winning the Heisman Trophy. And he is projected to be the #1 pick in this year's NFL draft, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Is he a lock at that #1 pick? Yes or no? And why or why not? Ladies first, Alyssa, we'll start with you.
Appreciate that, Bailey. I think it's no doubt that he's going to go #1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. They need him, and they need him bad. Clint Kubiak, the new head coach, needs a good system quarterback with what he did with Sam Darnold here. I don't know if he believes in Geno Smith. He was very kind and said good things about Geno Smith when he was first hired as Seattle's offensive coordinator, but that was right before they traded Geno Smith to the Raiders and got picks for him. So I really think that Fernando Mendoza has the personality. He's like everything you want in a quarterback. He's corny. He's not going to embarrass your organization. And the Raiders do that enough for themselves, embarrassing themselves. So you've got to pair a good quarterback with the running back that they got last year out of Boise State. And they still need a whole lot of help around them. But Fernando Mendoza, it's him, and then it looks like Jets, Cardinals, and most projections have defense like edge right after Fernando Mendoza. It's really him alone at the top in terms of the quarterback tiers and really player tiers. It's him. He's number one.
Robbie, I don't mean to keep kind of hammering this rough quarterback situation the Cardinals are at home, but I know you would like to have that number one pick.
You're doing it on purpose.
But is Fernando a lock at that number one spot to Las Vegas?
No, hopefully the Raiders and the Jets screw it up and he falls down to the Cardinals at 3. That would be the ideal scenario, right? No, it's not going to happen. He's going to go number 1. I mean, just if you didn't watch any Indiana football all season, just watch the fourth quarter of the national championship game where it's 4th down and he put the Hoosiers on his back and dove and got crushed diving into the end zone for what ended up being the game-winning score. Like Alyssa said, I mean, he is everything you want in a franchise quarterback. And for a franchise, since they moved to Vegas, that seems kind of a little lost, a little wayward right now. New head coach, tie him to hopefully franchise quarterback. Mendoza is going to go number 1. Unless, what did they say at the combine? Didn't he say some GM told him he needs to get arrested or something so he falls in the draft? Maybe that was Monty Osborne. I'm not reporting. I'm just saying maybe it'd be nice if something happened and he fell to the Cardinals.
The NFL scriptwriters may have something up their sleeve. You never know. Gerard, what do you think?
I think it's a no-brainer, unless you are the Raiders and you do something crazy. He's a prototype quarterback. He's 6'5", 236. You look at the numbers that he had this year, they're simply amazing. I mean, his junior year in Indiana, 182 QB rating. That's unheard of. That's how good he was. That's how consistent he was. And the thing about Fernando Mendoza that I don't think people talk about enough is that not only did he play 3 years of college football, but he redshirted a year. He redshirted his first year at Cal and then played 2 seasons at Cal and then went to Indiana and won a national championship. So he is schooled. He's not a guy that's going to come in and the lights are going to be too bright. He's going to have to learn a system. But he's got a lot of experience, and we don't see that all the time with guys. They get kind of thrown into the fire, and it's overwhelming. I don't think that's going to be the case with him. There'll be growing pains because he's a rookie and because it's a Raider organization. But I can't see them doing anything else, and I can't see another guy being a better fit for them right now.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be a bigger headline in the history of the NFL than if the Raiders didn't select Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 pick. I think that would be the shock of all shocks in the NFL. I think he's a lock. I mean, anybody who says otherwise, I'd be really curious to hear why. Fernando Mendoza obviously lights out at Indiana. Prior to that, he played at quarterback at Cal. I talked to a lot of the Cal staff, and nobody had a bad thing to say about Fernando Mendoza. He is just a great person through and through, is what everybody told me. He cares about everybody from the head coach to the janitor, treats everybody the same. It's something, you see it all the time. People say exactly what Fernando is like on TV is exactly how he is in person. I've witnessed it firsthand. He's walked up to, and I can say, this isn't something I've seen a lot of athletes do. When I did a sit down with him when he was still at Cal, he walked right up to my photographer and knew his name and remembered that he had kids and asked all about that, and that was after a year of time. So I think Fernando Mendoza is poised to be a great starting quarterback in the NFL, talent-wise and personality-wise, which sometimes is not easy to find. We got to take a quick break. We are not done. More discussion on the NFC West when we're back. Welcome back to the NFC West Huddle. We've got time for one last question. We're going to go all around the NFC West, take a stop at each team. What's the biggest question mark for your team? Gerard?
Well, the Rams have actually beaten everyone to the punch already, and Bailey started addressing it with the trade that will be official on March 11th when the league starts business for the 2026 year. And they're making a trade. They traded for SoCal native Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs, and they gave up a bunch of picks, one first-round pick, the 29th. They still have a first-round pick at the 13th, and they gave up some later picks. But he addresses a humongous hole the Rams have figured out that they have. I think we all saw it in the NFC Championship game. They just could not get off the field at the cornerback position. They just simply couldn't get off the field. So they addressed the cornerback position. I still wouldn't be surprised to see them draft a cornerback, but Bailey, that's what they went. They've already done it.
Robbie, I think we know what your answer is going to be, but you might as well talk about it again. Go ahead.
It's obviously they got to figure out their place kicker. That is the biggest issue for the Cardinals. Specialty. No, they need a quarterback. It's probably, as I alluded to earlier in the show, I don't think they're going to get their future franchise guy, so to speak, this year. But the quarterback is their biggest position of need, and that is what they will need to address this year and next offseason probably.
Alyssa, what about in Seattle?
Well, Gerard, I know Seahawks were maybe in the conversation for Trent McDuffie. You call him a SoCal native. Up here, we call him a former Washington Husky that we lost out on. But the number one need, the number one problem and question to be answered is Kenneth Walker, the third Super Bowl MVP running back. Is he going to come back? Is he going to test free agency? Is he going to go the free agent market and get the money that he deserves? And the Seahawks looking like they're not going to franchise tag him. So what will they do at running back? I think that's the number one headline, but they really have to address the interior offensive line. Anthony Bradford at right guard was a topic all season long. Everybody calling him out on X, redoing videos, seeing him get blown over by blocks and defensive edges everywhere. So I think that's the understated headline of the offseason they have to answer.
In San Francisco, two big question marks. You've got left tackle Trent Williams, future Hall of Famer. They say they're having good contract talks with him. We'll see. You kind of hear everything in between, but that would be a huge loss if he does not return to San Francisco. The other big question mark, wide receiver. The Niners will likely lose Juwan Jennings, who becomes a free agent. Ricky Pearsall hasn't been able to stay healthy. He missed 8 games last season. So a lot of big question marks to answer for this San Francisco 49ers team. Will they do it in the draft? I wouldn't recommend taking a wide receiver in the draft. They did it with Ricky Pearsall in the first round. And Ricky has been good when he's been able to play, but the Niners knew he was injured coming into it. So we'll have to see what they do. That will do it for this episode of the NFC West Huddle. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time.